My name is Joe Rigney, Fellow of Theology at New St. Andrews College. The Bible tells us that there are two fundamental ways to live: the way of the righteous and the way of the wicked, the way of the wise and the way of the fool, God's way and the world's way. And every one of us must choose which way to follow, which way to live. We make this choice every day of our lives. This summer at the Called Conference in Moscow, Idaho, I want to clarify this choice for you. Using the first chapter of the book of Romans, we'll explore the two ways in terms of worship and glory, in terms of manhood, womanhood, sexuality, and in terms of our relationships with other people. The wrath of God is revealed against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. And the pleasure of God is revealed upon all godliness and righteousness of men, who by their righteousness celebrate the truth. The choice of ways is before you. I hope to see you there.
You sit in church week after week, embracing the truth of God's Word. You believe the gospel and claim Jesus Christ as your Lord. Yet you continue to struggle with pornography. You feel like a hypocrite, returning to the sin you hate that mocks the God you love. You desperately wonder, is lasting freedom even possible? Yes, you can overcome pornography, but not alone. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "Now flee from youthful lusts and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Only by repeatedly running from sin to Christ with other believers can you hope to enjoy lasting freedom." You can live with purity and integrity. Take courage, seek accountability, and do whatever is necessary. Get equipped at accountable2you.com.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Business Makers. We are a show on equipping entrepreneurs, business leaders, and investors to build, grow, and establish businesses for the glory of God. We are ordinary Christians striving for extraordinary results. Over the last, 5 or 6 months that I've been doing Business Makers, it's been really a true joy and pleasure to interview. Basically, I get to interview business owners, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and it's an exciting group to be talking to, especially in this moment in our time with where our cancel culture's at, with where our economy's at, with where our politics is at. Businesses are a great tool to be used for God's kingdom. You know, of course, just like money's a great tool and a horrible God. And so businesses are a great tool and horrible God. Excited to have Joe Garrisi coming on here. Joe, I'll go ahead and welcome you to the show. And I got a couple kind of opening comments. So Bree, if you want to bring Joe into the show. Joe is the owner of Backwards Planning Financial. And as I understand it, Backwards Planning Financial is part of kind of the Northwest Mutual world. Joe, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, I'm a subsidiary of Northwestern Mutual.
Okay. And while you guys are coming in, we're actually live. We're live. So Joe will be able to answer questions as we kind of get into this throughout the show. And so please, ask questions in the comment section. I'll be monitoring them. I can see questions on YouTube, our YouTube channels, Facebook, and maybe Twitter. Sometimes Twitter works, sometimes it doesn't. But on YouTube and Facebook, I should be able to see questions. from the audience. Make sure you guys join us. We would love to have you join us in Fort Worth on October 31st and November 2nd. We actually do a pre-business makers conference on Thursday afternoon. Our speakers for that conference this year are Darren Doan from Doan Creative Agency. We have Isaac Botkin from T-Rex, fantastic brothers, T-Rex Arms out of Tennessee. And then we have Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room with Blaze TV. Excited to have him joining us out there also. So that's the pre-conference. It's only 4 hours on Thursday afternoon, 1 to 5 o'clock, and it's very fast paced. It's very exciting, and it's very. We have several hundred business leaders join us for that kind of pre-conference afternoon event. So look forward. You go to fightlaughfeast.com to sign up for that. So Joe, thank you for coming on the show, and I've talked to you multiple times over this last year, and I'm going to start here. Okay, backwards planning financial. I mean, I want a forward plan here, buddy. I'm like anybody my age, taking a lot of risk, leveraging a lot into those risks, and so I'm in a place where it's like I need kind of a forward plan. Why did you name yourself backwards planning financial?
That the thought process or the name came from my time in the Army. So I was an armor officer, jumped out of airplanes and did some scout training and military intelligence. And there's a process in the planning world in the military called backwards planning. And that is understanding what you're trying to accomplish in as much detail as possible, spending focus on that. And once you understand that well, then you can backwards to today have it affect what you're doing today. Because if you don't do that, if you're just marching along in an only forward, hey, what do we do next type of process, that's spaghetti on the wall. Hey, I hope it works out. So I like backwards planning and understanding what to do, whether it be for retirement or legacy planning or buying a house or buying a car or paying for kids' college or any plan, any goal that takes money and planning to achieve. Okay.
So you're kind of looking at, okay, what are the goals I want to be at by the time I'm, 50 or by the time I'm 60? And then we're going to map backwards what we need to do those, to get there.
Yes. Yeah. So like if allow me to go into a little more explanation, let's choose retirement. Okay. Now let me define what I mean by that. First of all, it's not where you work 40 to 60 hours a week on average, and now you stop, throw a party, and now you're on the couch, go fishing the rest of your life. Okay. I would go boring. I'd go crazy. Few people can do that or want to do that. I believe we should stay productive for the rest of our lives.
Yep. 100%.
No, the productivity that we're doing no longer needs to yield an income. I didn't say it doesn't yield an income. I said it doesn't need to yield an income. So that's financial freedom is another way to say that. You have your legacy goals and retirement goals and gifting goals and et cetera. Once you have all those strategized and funded, now you work because you enjoy it. You enjoy the product of it, the people you're doing, the process, and et cetera. Like if you allow me to give you an example of a client, I can't say he's an executive at an S&P 500 company.
Okay.
We were doing a review and he's funded for retirement and he's in his 40s.
Okay.
Christian guy, family guy. And he said, Joe, I could stop working and go and now use my hands and tools and et cetera for God's kingdom, or I can keep working and make silly money and give it away. Okay. So he enjoys what he does. He's very good at what he does. And so he's continuing to work and he's now able to give a ton of money away to different things because of that process. So retirement doesn't necessarily mean boom, stop working and do nothing. So, but once you're at age and et cetera, what is the decumulation plan? Decumulation means you have all these assets, different kinds, different ways, different taxes, different ways they generate income and growth. How do you use them to create an income? There's multiple methods out there. There's three primary methods. One's the systematic method, one's the dividends method, and one's the flooring method. And there's lots of subsets and et cetera. Different methods use different tools, have different pros and cons, are for different people, and there's no right and best method.
Okay.
So it's understanding for retirement, for kids' college, for buying a house, for what is the funding method you want to do to accomplish this goal. And then we can say, all right, now we can backwards plan to today. What should we be doing? Because we know how we want to accomplish that goal. And then we take into account things that we can't control. Tax volatility, right? We're having potentially a major tax change here in just over a year. Tax volatility from inflation to markets that crash to health risks along the way to all kinds of factors. Hey, we need to prepare and plan for those also to make sure that the plan works.
Okay.
So that's what I do, backwards planning on that. And I chose that name. Also, I enjoy that name because of what you just said. It's kind of like it's a catcher, like, what? That sounds weird. Tell me more. So that's on purpose.
Right. That's how. And so you actually, before you got into financial planning, you were part owners in some businesses. You were doing some entrepreneur efforts.
Yeah. I've done a variety of different things being a business. So I think this is the third business I've owned.
Okay.
And I've been doing this almost 13 years now.
Okay.
Full time. This is what I do all day long. From things like door-to-door iron door sales. Okay. High-end custom iron doors that you see in very expensive houses and et cetera. They're beautiful. Like I did sell that door-to-door to all kinds of helping new inventors with their processes, to all kinds of various pieces on that. But this has been my favorite. I've actually been studying this industry since I was 18.
Okay.
I had some financial calamity happens to our family outside of the immediate nucleus family's control, parents, sister, brother, outside of our control. Yeah. We were supposed to have some money and we didn't because of some shady things that happened.
Okay.
So that kind of fueled a fire into me, like, well, I want to make sure that doesn't happen again for my family.
Yeah.
So what do I do in research? So I was actually working on manufacturing floor as a manager right out of the Army. And on my breaks, I'm reading estate planning books and tax books and et cetera, just because I enjoy understanding that world.
Yeah. And so you chose to come under the Northwest Mutual umbrella.
Correct.
Why did you choose Northwest Mutual?
There's a few things. First of all, when I was getting into this, my wife was the one that encouraged me. She was an assistant and she was looking at the others around this arena. And she basically told me, you'd run circles around them. You need to go back to school and actually do this for real.
Yeah.
Because I've been studying this as a hobby. So how did I choose Northwestern? So I went and interviewed multiple companies. And then I have multiple mentors in my life. Some are deceased and that were in this industry and retired at that time. And so I went and asked them, hey, tell me the real scoop on how this industry works. And then if you would do this again, what company would you go through? Were the starting questions I asked 3 different guys on that. None of them knew each other. Okay. Yeah. And they were all retired out of this industry. All of them said Northwestern Mutual is who you should go with, which is like surprising to me on that. So based on their advice, and then what they pride themselves in is best training. And there are certain products in the insurance world that they are outstanding. I mean, best in quality. That doesn't mean right for everyone. There's no such thing as right for everyone. And I'm not a captive agent. I don't have to represent their products type of thing. I have hundreds of companies that I can represent when appropriate to clients. So their training when you're starting is excellent on that. And so I've decided to stay here because those products, when appropriate, I want to use for my clients, and they're proprietary. Yeah. So my competitors, I can use theirs, but they can't use Northwestern's.
Right.
So I want that extra tool. It's the ACE when appropriate to use for stuff.
So you just made a comment that made me think. So you're able to use products outside of Northwest, but you're also able to use the products within Northwest.
Correct.
So is that kind of unique to your competition?
Yeah, most competition only use brokered products and don't have proprietary products.
Okay.
So I use their brokered products also. They just can't use the proprietary ones that I have access to.
Yeah, this might. I want the audience to know who you are. So why are you? It seems like this world is crowded. There's a lot of representatives like you, financial representatives like you. Why? What are you doing that's unique? What are you doing that's different? How are you thinking differently?
Sure.
And if it seems like there's a lot of representatives that would have access to the same Northwest Mutual products, but why?
Yes.
Why you?
Yeah, sure. So there's roughly 9,000 NM reps across the country.
Wow.
Okay, so there's a lot.
That Northwest Mutual and non-Northwest Mutual? That's total?
No, that's just NM reps.
Ooh. Wow.
When you include everybody else, we're talking hundreds of thousands. It's a very large industry. And in this industry, there's really 3 primary different kinds of folks out there. There's the insurance people that every product they recommend is some type of insurance.
Okay.
So therefore, when they have a problem, we're going to use an insurance hammer to resolve it. Okay. So that's one subset of, they call themselves financial advisors, financial planners. That's a nondescript term, unfortunately. Okay. Same thing. I'm a wealth management advisor. Inside the industry, that's a higher tier, but outside the industry, nobody knows what that is.
Yeah. Right.
So then there's the investment folks, where they just use investment tools, stock market tools, public stock market tools. So then every problem gets solved with a stock market hammer type of thing. Okay. And then there's fee for service. And that is write a check. Okay. Buy the time. You're buying the time like an attorney. You're buying the time and they'll give you answers and you go implement. Okay. You're responsible for implementing, et cetera, that type of thing. Okay. So the first 2 I do right now. The third one, I'm meeting with compliance to see how best to integrate that. So therefore I can set all 3 and see what's best for the clients. Because there's no one best method. There's no one best set of products, because people are unique and individual on what they want to accomplish and in their situation.
Yeah. Right. And so let's walk through actually a scenario of a guy like me.
Sure.
40, going to be 45 this summer.
Okay.
3 kids. My oldest is 14.
Okay.
I own a couple companies. None of them pay my full salary.
Yeah.
I don't have much savings. No college fund savings. I got some leverage. I got some debt. How would you work with someone like me to kind of maybe help me better plan for the future, free me up?
Sure. And this will go and flush out your previous question even more on why you. Because I love that question, and that's a book long answer. Okay, so what I do with every client, regardless if they're 45 or 20 or 80, or I have clients at all ages and stages of life. Okay, so it's okay. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? And when I ask that, most people go, I don't know. So it's spending time helping people flush out their goals. And actually what happens over meetings and reviews, goals change and get refined. And so what are your goals you're trying to accomplish? Okay, what is the age you want to accomplish them? What's the financial understanding of that in today's world? And then what I do is add inflation into that number, because it's hard for people to think in future value. Okay, so then let's talk about what you want to accomplish. What is your current situation with income and debts and assets? And let's see, what are you currently putting money into? What do you have access to? Because different people have access to different tools. Business owners have access to additional tax strategies that W-2s do not. They have access to potentially different investment tools that W-2s do not. Okay, very, very unique type of scenario. One of my favorite things, please go look at this, is hiring kids for your business. All right, I have to rabbit trail here for compliance. All things that I suggest are not personal recommendations for Gabe Wrench and his family or anybody else. Please talk to your own personal advisor and tax advisor and estate planning advisor, everybody else, to make sure they're right for you. All right. Okay. So, because I can't give advice specifically for anybody else outside that. I am a fiduciary. Here's a question you should ask. I'm a fiduciary. This means I must do what's in the best interest of my clients. Okay. Not everybody's a fiduciary out there. That's one part of your question.
How does that distinguish you? How do you to me, that seems like everybody should be a fiduciary or
Should-
whatever you call it.
should
But how,
be.
what's the difference between or do you get like a certificate to be a fiduciary? I'm like, what do you mean?
No,
by that? You know?
licenses and the type of work that I do and the type of products I recommend.
Okay.
Right. If I screw up, I can be sued.
Yeah. Yeah. For not recommending what's best for the client.
Right.
Yeah.
For not doing what's best for them.
Who can get away with not recommending what's best for their client?
There's different levels of best.
Yeah.
That sounds really weird, but in the legal world, best intent or best advice for the client, or there's different levels based on like people that only do insurance products or have a lower level of fiduciary responsibility.
Yep.
Okay. Type of thing. Yep. So those that do advisory or fee-based investing, where you're getting paid an assets fee on the investments, that's a much higher tier of compliance while you're managing clients' money.
Right.
Much higher tier of compliance that you must do. And then even in that world, right, you can talk about the retail space or the fee-based space, and where does the fiduciary responsibility start and end?
Yeah.
It's not just a simple thing. Should is the right question.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is my view of contracts. Contracts are only good as the people behind them.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. I experienced that a lot in my life.
Yeah. So coming back to you. So I'd be like, okay, so you understanding your income and your goals, your debt situation, like your debts. I don't know your exact debts. Let's throw some debts out there. Let's say you have a car debt at 5%, you got credit card debt at 25% and a home debt at 3%, as an example. Okay. So, because of the credit card debt, let's talk about how to reduce that fast, whether you do a balance transfer or you pay it off. Maybe you take a loan from a 401k or just crush it with every extra dollar you can. Eat someone else's words, use eating beans and rice, and just crush that. Like, I hate high interest rate debt. Really bad on your finances. But there's multiple ways to do it without just putting money towards it.
Right.
Okay. Type of thing that you can reduce debt.
Yeah.
And then also, what investment options do you have? Like once you hit certain income and asset tiers, you have access, according to the Securities Exchange Commission, to additional products. Most people are not familiar with them. There's actually 2 stock markets. There's a public and a private market. Okay. So in the private market, you have to be different levels, according to the SEC, to even have access to that. Okay. We have access to them. We use those tools for the right people. So do you have access to that? That's a deeper question than for today.
Okay.
And what's your insurance? Okay. What kind of life insurance? What amount do you have? What's the longevity? What's the quality of the company? Well, do you have disability insurance? Do you have long-term care insurance? What about on your wife? What about on your kids? What's the plan right now? What about responsibilities from parents down below? Do they currently live with you? Will they need to live with you? What about siblings? Do you currently need to support them or need to support them at some time? So understand familial situation, not just your nuclear situation with you and your wife.
Right.
Okay. What about inheritance? What's the status of those? Are they in trusts? What's the health of the family members? What about their protection? What's their financial plan to make sure they transfer the titling of those assets? It's not just a simple thing.
Yeah.
It's looking at tax returns. This is actually my favorite thing.
Okay.
Is helping my clients reduce their taxes in strategy ideas. So that's what I bring. I bring the strategy ideas. And my subset that I love talking about is how to give money to a 501c3. Most churches are 501c3s, and how to maximize their taxes back without giving more money. There's multiple ways to do this.
Right. Okay. How do you use the financial planning world? The tax thing's interesting to me. How do you use the financial planning world to maybe help me pay less at the end of the year in taxes?
Okay, so let's hypothetically say you have $300,000 in a non-qualified investment account. Most people go, "What is non-qualified?" Okay, every type of investment account or bank account is either qualified or non-qualified. Qualified means restricted access. IRAs, 401ks, SEPs, simples, pensions, restricted access. Okay, so your savings account is a non-qualified asset. In other words, you can go and empty that today without a penalty.
Right.
Please bifurcate in your brain penalties and taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can pull money out without a penalty. There's no age restriction. You can have an investment account that's a non-qualified investment account also. So the benefit of a non-qualified investment account is liquid access. The negative is tax.
Yeah.
So you have to pay tax on the realized gain every year. So let's say you have a $300,000 account and the stock market crashes, boom, down to 150,000, right? 2008 type of scenario. Armageddon, holy smokes, this is painful.
Yeah.
So what you can actually do is called tax loss harvesting. You can sell. So it's now 150,000. You sell, you buy something different, needs to be different. Okay. So you don't do wash sale rolls. So you therefore you realize the tax loss. That's what it's called, realizing the tax loss.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, any short-term capital gains you have that year can be written off against that up to the full amount of 150,000. And then if there's more loss on top of that, you can take up to 3,000 and reduce your taxable income by that. And then if there's more, you get to carry it over to the next year and keep carrying it over until it's used up.
Yeah.
So having that, and then let's say you have another asset you bought at 150,000 now. So you move your basis down is what that means. Okay. Once you've held that XYZ asset, whatever it is, for a year and a day, that moves it to a long-term capital gain position.
Yeah.
Okay. 366 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say it moved all the way back up to 300,000 now. Hypothetically, you now have 150,000 gain that if you would sell it, you would pay capital gains tax on the gain.
Yep.
But instead, you gift the asset to the 501c3. Literally gift them the asset. Okay? If it's shares in stock or mutual fund, you give them the shares. Yep. They have a receiving investment account that they receive the asset and they sell it, type of thing. That's called step up in basis. Basis moves to current market value. So in our hypothetical analogy, the basis moved up to 300,000. So you have 150,000 gain you did not pay tax on. So you got to write off the loss and not pay tax on the gain.
Right. Very interesting. What you mentioned that there's some tax changes coming. That it doesn't seem like a very good mention in how you mentioned it.
Well, they're not for sure yet. They're not written into law yet. It's going to be based a lot on who wins in November.
Yeah.
So what the actual term is, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act will sunset. That's the official verbiage of that. Okay. That will sunset on December 31st, 2025. Okay. And so therefore, those will go back to previous rules, which are worse for most people. There's not a universal. Okay. Yeah. Like as an example, standard deductions going down by roughly half. Okay. Owie. Type of thing. There's business owners, for business owners at certain levels are able to deduct 20% of their income off that. So it looks like, again, not written into law. So until it's done, it's not done. Yeah. Tax brackets, the taxes percentages of those are going up. Looks like it.
If so this Jobs Act expired, if this tax Jobs Act, okay. Yeah.
Correct. If it expires, and so there's multiple things that still have to happen for that to be accomplished on stuff.
So each tax bracket would go up.
Maybe.
Wow.
That's not for certain.
Yeah. Right.
On that. So yeah, it's not fun. It's not good. They're also looking at lifetime gift exemptions coming down. So if those are bigger people trying to gift money away, consider doing so now, or putting the money into a trust to take advantage of lifetime gift exemptions. Consider doing that because that's possibly coming down on that. Also, inheritance tax numbers are possibly coming down before inheritance tax kicks in on the federal level, and inheritance tax or estate tax at the federal level is 40%.
Yeah, it's incredible. Woo! It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do you avoid
that? One is doing some things now. Is consider putting stuff into a trust. There's various different kinds of trusts for different situations. There's not just one for everybody. But as an example, what you can do right now is person A can gift to person B, doesn't regard a matter of familial relationship, 18,000 gift tax free and etc. So
per year, $18,000 a year
per year per person.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I can give person A 18,000. My wife can give the same person 18,000 this year. Okay. if that person is married, then I can give their spouse 18,000. My wife can give their spouse 18,000. That's all, not including any gift lifetime exemptions. So you can start moving money soon. Yeah. Type of thing to help people, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Is there a way on the inheritance property side of things? Because that can get you pretty bad too. Let's say I have my house and I have another house and I want to gift that house to my kids.
Sure. So depends if the rules change. Depends is always the answer. It's never the answer people want, but it's always the answer. No. So like an example right now, if you have a house, let's say that you bought the house for 200 and it's worth 500 to have a number. Okay. Yeah. And you gift the house to kids or to anybody else. They maintain the basis position of 200, or in other words, the gain of 300. Okay. They maintain that in a gift.
Yep.
So if they ever sell it, they will pay tax, capital gains tax on the gain of the 300 plus any continued gain in growth. Yep. If under current rules, if they inherit it in a death event, then basis becomes current market value. That's the step up in basis where we were talking about just a minute ago. Wow. So basis becomes 500,000 and they don't pay tax on the $300,000 gain. Biden is trying to limit that to a very small number. And so therefore you wouldn't have as much step up in basis rules on death events. Not in law yet. We'll see what happens, but it's a way to add taxes without adding taxes on the front. Type in.
What if I just sold my house to my kid for $100?
Yeah, sorry, the IRS is going to come and spend. They know that it's you can have gifting rules of 18,000 of value on it, but then what they do is the current value gets assessed tax wise.
Really? So Donald Trump, I say, my house, I'm gonna sell it to my kid for $500.
Yeah,
and the IRS will come in and say, "Well, you're obviously trying to gift it to your kid."
So, I mean, give me an example. We gave a car away this last year, okay? But they had to pay tax on the value of the car they received.
Wow. Who assesses that value?
The government.
That's frustrating. Because, what if I maybe made a more reasonable purchase sell to my kid? Let's say $100,000. The house is worth $300,000. I sold it to him for $100,000.
Now you're getting into way nerdy details past this type thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm always trying to find a loophole.
No, I understand. There's I've known of people dividing up their land into plots and therefore gifting 18,000 away each year type of thing.
Right.
But that's some legal work to divide that all up that you're going to then pay attorneys a bunch of money. I mean, you're going to pay somebody.
I'd rather not pay the IRS.
Yes. So coming back to your previous question, why you? Okay. So first of all, I want to start with what you're trying to accomplish long-term and spending time rather than just some blatant assumptions. And then I want to talk about both your insurance that you have, your health, your debt plan, your emergency fund amount and location, your investments. What about company benefits that you have access to? How to use those efficiently? It's a common thing I find that people don't use their company benefits, including executives, right? S&P 500 executives are not using commonly their benefits to the potential.
Give me an
example. Because they don't understand. Super common thing I find people don't understand is an ESPP. Stand for Employee Stock Purchase Plan. So if someone's a W-2 for an S&P 500 company, it's a high probability that one of their benefits is the right to buy stock at a discount. That's an employee stock purchase plan, is the right to buy it. In maxing that out and how to use it, there's a small window to sign up, what to do with it once you're granted the stock.
Right.
Most people don't know how to use those programs to their maximum efficiency for their plan. Yeah. It's just, it's there are nerdy details on that stuff.
Okay. So keep going.
Yeah. So that plus what about their disability benefits and how to use those? And, do they have a wills? And it's super common for people not to have wills. They actually do have wills. They may or may not know this. Whatever state they die in will provide a will for them if they don't have their own.
Yep.
So a judge is going to decide.
For you.
Not want a judge to decide for you.
Yeah.
Where your kids are going, assets, and etc.
Yep.
Hopefully they keep the kids together. But one of the problems in that scenario is when the kids turn 18, they would inherit their share. How many 18-year-olds do you know are fiscally responsible? Not many.
Yeah.
Right? To inherit 6-7 figures could be detrimental. There's ways to protect against that with the right legal documents, type of stuff. So that's an estate planning attorney that would come in and craft that. But what I do is say, hey, let's meet with you and your estate planning attorney and make sure that what they're saying is what you want. Because I speak attorney and I speak human. Right. Yeah. So I'm the go-between type of thing. Same thing with their tax advisor. I speak tax advisor. I speak human.
Yeah.
So I go and say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. And then I can relay it to their advisor. And okay, great. This is the best thing to do. And then they can work with their advisor with me as an advocate.
So my daughter is 14. Then I got a 12-year-old and 10-year-old. I don't have any college savings fund, which I need. What programs, financial programs, at the same time allow me to be kind of flexible with my kids' college funds. Like, what do I do there? Like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. So it depends. so let me explain a little more. So what if they end up going to a school that doesn't accept 529 money? There may be one locally to you that doesn't.
Yeah.
So 529s are not the end all be all answer. A 529 is a tool that grows tax free if you use it for the approved scholastic expenses. But if you don't need it or don't want it, or the school you go to doesn't use it, then you have to use it for something else. And it's both a penalty and a tax to do so, or it can turn into a Roth IRA. That's a new rule after 15 years.
Okay.
That type of thing. Okay.
So after 15 years, you can convert it into a Roth.
Yes. If the beneficiary is the same person for 15 years in a row. Right? Because you can have one 529 and change the name between kids. Every day you can change the name type of thing and use it for different kids.
Okay.
Type of stuff.
But
That's a really common tool.
But it has to be for that one person for 15 years. So if I change the name, the 15 years starts over?
Starts over again. Yes, sir.
Okay. Follow you.
Okay. So that's approved scholastic expense only type of scenario. But if someone is in a lower income, what's lower income? I don't know the exact numbers. Let's say 125 grand and below for a swag. Please don't hold me to this. And they're going to get some type of financial aid. What the FAFSA process does, if they go to a school that uses the FAFSA, right? That's if the FAFSA process actually divides all your assets between accessible and non-accessible assets.
Yep.
Okay. So accessible assets will decrease the amount of financial aid they could potentially get. And a 529 is considered an accessible asset.
Okay.
So you're saving money in a method that's tax-free growth only if you use it in the right manner, and then you're going to reduce your potentially reduce your FAFSA benefits.
Right.
If you make too much income to get FAFSA benefits, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
But so there's non-qualified investment accounts. This is what I was just talking about a minute ago. Remember where you tax loss harvest on the way down, and not pay tax on the gain if you give it to a church or a 501c3, right? But that money could be used for anything. It's not qualified. So you could use it for kids' college or their car or their wedding or your retirement, or it could be used for anything.
Right.
Right. That's an accessible asset on the FAFSA. So you're going to hurt that, but it's more flexible on the use. Okay. There's life insurance tools. Getting kind of old, 14 to use that for college. There's life insurance tools that you can use the equity for them.
Okay.
One of my favorites to discuss with folks, if it's appropriate, is a Roth IRA.
Okay.
For the kid. Okay. And that's because a Roth IRA grows like a 529, grows tax-free if you wait to use the growth until 59 and a half years old. But the basis means what you've contributed can be withdrawn at any time, any reason.
Okay.
Any school, any college could be used the basis for, but now you don't have to use it for college. Now the growth is for their retirement age and above. And the basis could be used for college or car or wedding or house or et cetera type of thing.
Do you have to pay that back?
No, it's a withdrawal.
So as long as you withdraw for X purposes, the 5 listed or whatever, is as long as you withdraw for the specific purposes they allow you to withdraw for, you don't have to pay it back.
That's a 529. A Roth IRA can be withdrawn for any purpose.
Oh, okay.
There's no restricted access.
Oh,
you just have to. You can only withdraw up to basis, which means your contributed amount, your aggregate contribution.
So let's say I've been putting in $100 a month.
Right.
Then whatever I've put in over the 5 years, that's my basis. Now, let's say the Roth IRA is worth, $100,000 or whatever. I can't tap into that growth. I can just still tap into the basis.
You can tap into the growth with penalty and taxes.
Okay.
But you can tap into the basis penalty tax free.
Okay. That's helpful.
Okay, so
very helpful.
Yes. And
so would that be a Roth IRA for like in my name? I could do that.
Or kids.
Or kids. Okay.
Or kids or both. And that's because the maximum you can do, this is income dependent. If you're under the income rules, which change every single year, are you doing a front door Roth IRA or a backdoor Roth IRA? And that's income dependent and other IRA dependent and et cetera. Sorry, there's too many depends here.
Yeah.
To answer, but you can have a Roth IRA on you and your wife, assuming you have the income appropriate. But if your kids have earned income, earned income means they have a job and earn the money, they can have a Roth IRA too. And it's one of my favorite things to do for kids is to talk about doing a Roth IRA for them. Imagine the tax-free growth, because a lot of it is compounding. Okay, Albert Einstein, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. It is amazing. And imagine if we could have compound growth on our account starting from little kid. Like if I could go back to my little kid self, say, you're going to get a Roth IRA.
Yeah, right.
Type of thing.
Right.
It would be glorious.
Give me an example of, again, my daughter's turning 14 this summer. If she opened a Roth IRA, what would that look like?
So it depends on how much she earned. The maximum she could contribute is $7,000, or her earned income, whatever is less. Okay, whatever is less on that. So I'm just going to open up a financial calculator here, and let's say she did $7,000 a year. Okay, and we grow it for 6 years on an annualized growth rate at an 8% average, right? There's all kinds. Do you fund it in the beginning of the year? Are you funding it throughout the year? There's all kinds of variables here, but we're just talking rough draft. Okay. That becomes 51 grand. Okay. After 6 years.
Okay.
So 42,000 of basis. Okay. And you've got 9,000 of gain up to 51,000 of gain. So the gain is what she needs to save and reserve for her long-term future, which when she's older, she'll be very, very thankful for it.
Right.
Okay. So let's say she takes that 9,000 of gain and then just lets it cook. Okay.
Yeah.
And then pulls it out 45 years from now. Again, at an average 8% growth rate, yada, yada type of thing.
Right.
Never adds to it again. All she did is take that 9,000 growth. So she pulled all her bases out.
Yep.
Roughly becomes $287,000.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Tax free.
Yeah. That's very good. With now obviously with inflation, depending on the year, it might not do well that year, because let's say it meets inflation, the growth meets inflation, or maybe it's under inflation, like maybe what happened this last year. We don't know the real numbers. We don't know the real numbers.
Stock markets. That's right. Yeah. This is stock market. Stock market does not grow linearly.
Yep.
Right. It's part of
up and down.
It's not a bug for it to grow erratic. It's not a bug. It's actually part of the creation and how it's supposed to work. On that. So when markets crash, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself. That's part of financial planning, is to prepare for unknown calamities, losing of a job, or having a health thing, or getting rear-ended, as happened in near to me. So getting rear-ended and therefore having pain, and what do you do with medical bills, and or someone dying prematurely, or et cetera, or getting a promotion. And now what do we do? Right. Like what Joseph did in Egypt, right? We had 7 years of sunshine and 7 years of famine. Well, you don't just burn everything up in those 7 years of sunshine, because life is going to be hard.
Right.
So it's preparing for calamities also at the same time.
That's helpful. Before we go here, I know we can't cover everything. But is there anything that you want to leave? Anything that we didn't hit that you're burning to talk about real quick?
One of a couple things. Sure. So I see a lot in the Reformed world of, hey, we need to be physically strong, right? We need to eat well. I think there may be a podcast about that you know of, huh?
That's right.
Eat well and work out and how to be good husbands and wives and fathers and etc. But there's not a lot out there on fiscal strength. Yeah. There's a lot of why out there. It's like, I'm thinking of David Chilton's book, Productive Christians in the Age of Guilt Manipulators, or Crown Ministries has some basic. Vic Lockman does in his comics to Gary North did a whole commentary on the Bible about this. King's Hall guys love and get into this, into the all of life. Jerry Bauer and Maker versus Takers, which y'all had on recently in another podcast. But what is it you do? What to do? That's all the why. But now what? That's what I come in, is the what, how to take a family in the next step on that piece. And then for business owners here listening, we are called to be excellent. Okay. Be excellent in your craft.
That's right.
Okay. Not just, compare yourself to competitors, compare yourself to yourself. We need to be excellent to give excellent advice. Leadership, a big pet peeve of mine. Leadership is not just what I say, but do as I do.
That's right.
Okay. We need to be doing and executing as we want others to do, and then say, follow my lead.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But thank you very much, Joe, for coming on our show. If you guys don't know, Joe's going to be at our conference actually in October. So you'll be able to talk to him there and hear more from him. Joe's actually, you mentioned this at the very beginning, but you're licensed throughout the nation. In every state.
Most states.
Most states. So you'll be able to connect with Joe and his wife. They'll be at our conference, prodigalamerica.com. You go to prodigalamerica.com to sign up. It'd be a great time to be able to connect with Joe out there. Joe's booked on Cross Politic in September. So be ready for Joe coming on Cross Politic in September. Joe, thank you so much for coming on Business Makers.
Thank you. Yeah. Pleasure.
Thank you everyone else for tuning in to Business Makers. If the podcast will be dropping actually later on this afternoon, so you'll be able to get it into our app also, and that's where we actually prefer you try to get most of our content out of our app, Fight Laugh Feast app. That's the best way to connect with us, because YouTube cancels us and all that jazz. So download our app, and we'll see you. There'll be no Business Makers next week because I'll be traveling to Florida, but we'll see you following 2 Fridays from now. So thank you for tuning in to Business Makers.
What we must be is a people that are ready to war for truth, for righteousness, for the kingdom. In short, what we need to do is we need to dress up for the occasion, ladies and gentlemen. To forsake the cliches of the secular and the cliches of the Christian culture. And we need to march to a different tune that's led by angelic choirs rather than masqueraded demons, because Satan knows the crucial target. He's seen the war. He knows where to target. He has inspected the holy places. He knows where the weaknesses of your faith are. And so we uphold it. We defend the faith together this week. We defend the faith once and for all, delivered to the saints. We need to understand what precisely are the devil's schemes. We need to learn to speak the truth boldly. We need to fight for the kingdom and to live rightly in the sight of God and man. And so this evening and throughout this week, you are called to be a priestly people. The kind of priestly people that engages the darkest enemy that you'll ever engage. And you're going to engage the darkest enemy, whose name we know, Satan. And we're going to engage him not mildly. We're going to engage him by wearing our baptismal attire, by wearing that which God has given us. We carry the name of Jesus wherever we go, because Jesus is our righteousness.